Hello and welcome back to another video, and today, as you'll have seen by the title and thumbnail, we are seeing what happens when every rider is on a factory Ducati. So the premise doesn't really need explaining too much, is it? Every single person in the MotoGP class is now going to be on a factory Ducati in the Lenovo team, and we're going to do a 5-round championship with the AI to see who is the best rider, because ultimately the bike shouldn't play a factor at all. So we're starting off with the Qatar GP, of course, the classic season opener, then jetting off to the Spanish Grand Prix at Jerez, followed by Mugello in Italy, Assen in the Netherlands. Of course, you have to have Assen for a historic season, and then ending off in Valencia, as is typical fashion. So I've tried to make a kind of historic calendar in 5 rounds. Ignore the fact there's loads of other ones after that. But yeah, premise is pretty simple. Setup was more complicated than I expected. Had a lot of game crashes, and also this nightmarish cutscene that happened at one point. So there you go. Enjoy actually going to sleep tonight. But without any further ado, we're going to head down to the track for round 1 then here at Qatar. So starting this first round at Qatar then, you can see Maverick Vinales was on pole position, Martin in second, and Acosta in third. So interestingly enough, no Pecco Bagnaia in the top 3 as we get this race underway then. The first of 6 laps go down towards the first corner. Maverick Vinales got the whole shot immediately. You can see Martin trying to challenge him up the inside into turn 1. Martin's actually going for the lead. I think Martin may have done it. Actually, it's still side by side. Martin has now got through. But you can see in the background there, a rider goes down, and that was actually enough to bring out the red flag. So if we look at a replay, on board with Enea Bastianini, this is going into turn 1. He's on the inside of a Leish, contact with a Leish, contact I think on Marc Marquez on the outside there, and Jack Miller just giving Bastianini a little tap there, and down he went, and that was enough to obviously cause a red flag, like I said. So on the restart, we had 2 long lap penalties, 1 for Marc Marquez and 1 for Jack Miller, which seems kind of wrong since Marquez was a victim there. And away for the restart then, once again, Maverick Vinales gets a good start down towards the first corner, but on this occasion, it's actually going to be Pedro Acosta that goes for the attack at the inside, and there's contact. Down goes Martin, down goes Acosta, and down goes, I think, I'm not sure who the other rider was there, I think it was Brad Binder, and that actually caused another red flag. But somehow, actually, Martin Vinales ended up with long lap penalties off the back of that, and having seen that, I don't think they were a fault at all. It was actually Pedro on the inside that caused all of the problems. But away for the 3rd time now here at Qatar. Once again, Vinales gets the whole shot going down towards the first corner. And once again, Martin aggressive on the inside. And this time, he actually manages to take the lead, just like he did in the initial start of the race. Pedro Acosta had to sit in behind. Actually, he's still trying to attack Brad Binder, I think that is, for 3rd place. I'm not sure if he actually quite managed to get through. I think he did. There was a couple of crashes in the background there. Acosta still side by side actually with Brad Binder, but Martin took the lead then on this start, and cutting now on to lap 2. Of course, if you remember, he has a long lap penalty, so here he goes then, taking his long lap penalty at turn 6. Not too bad a one here. I think he went over the white line actually there, so he went through there, but I don't think the AI are probably going to get penalised too much for that. And he rejoins side by side with Bagnaia. Bagnaia pretty tough. He tries to tough it around the outside, does Martin, but Bagnaia actually does manage to hold on to the position, which puts Martin down into 5th place. Cutting now then onto lap 3, of course, our new race leader, Maverick Vinales, after taking that long lap penalty. He also has a long lap penalty, so coming into turn 6, unsurprisingly, takes it on this lap, which actually is going to put Acosta, I believe, up into the lead of the race, and I think it should be Bagnaia up into, or Di Antonio should have said. Oh, and there's almost contact there actually as Vinales comes out of the long lap penalty, and he gets sort of edged out, just like Martin did on the previous lap when he rejoined, and there's a cloud of dust there in the gravel, so a rider has gone down. We'll have to have a look at that one in a minute, but there you go. Vinales getting beaten up after his long lap penalty. And this is a replay then. Martin trying to attack both Bagnaia and Di Antonio, and he just completely gets it wrong. Up the inside Di Antonio he goes, takes out Digi, and that actually allows Bagnaia back through anyway, so he moves himself up into 3rd place, and somehow he gets away with that, by the way. So now cutting to our new race leader, Pedro Acosta, just showing that he has now taken the lead after all the long lap penalties and the incidents. But yeah, I cannot believe how aggressive that was from Martin, how over the line it was, and how he got absolutely no penalty whatsoever. But all the way to the last lap now, the triple rights, you can see Acosta has managed to hang on to the lead of the race so far. You can see Bagnaia is really attacking him, but a big mistake there for Pedro allows Pecco to move up into the lead of the race on the final lap. So gutting there for Acosta, and of course, with it being the last lap, Pecco does manage to hold it to the line. So despite not starting on the front row, like I said earlier on, Pecco actually still ends up winning on the factory Ducati, although if you look at that, Martin half a second off the back of the win with a long lap penalty as well. He definitely had the pace to win, but a bit harsh for him to get the long lap penalty in the first place, but he certainly should have got one for what he did to Gian Antonio, so I guess in the end it works out pretty fair. Binder then ends up in 4th place for this first race, and Aleix in 5th position. Not showing the standings for this round, because of course it is just going to be the exact same as the race results. So we'll head straight into round 2 now then. So onto the grid then at Jerez. You can see Martin is on pole this time, Acosta in 2nd, and Aleix in 3rd. So once again, no Bagnaia on the front row. So he's really struggling with qualifying. You can see he's down in 6th place there actually at the back end of the second row. But here we go then for the start of the race. Martin gets a great launch off the line. It is clear by the time we even get to turn 1. So clearly Martin has got the whole shot as we go through turn 1. I think that's Acosta coming through in 2nd. You can see there's a big pile up in the background there. Bike flying up in the air. And that was pretty big through turn 1. And a replay of that on board, it was actually Pecco Bagnaia. He goes at the inside of Vinales, contact with Vinales, the front goes, he goes down and he gets collected. And that's actually enough to put him out of the race completely, which is massive for the championship. The championship leader out there, and another replay shot there from his teammate's point of view, or from a replay shot that's showing his teammate out on the spot then, Pecco Bagnaia. But as you'll see, we've cut straight to the last lap because literally nothing else happens until Martin makes this mistake here. He runs on the green, he went way too hot through turn 4, and that allows Acosta this time to be the benefactor of someone's mistake on the final lap. Obviously at Qatar, he was the leader who made the mistake, but this time it is Martin. But is Martin going to be able to go back at him at the Dani Pedrosa corner, because he's really closing up on him? Not brave enough on this occasion to actually make that lunge, so Acosta actually ends up staying ahead then. And up towards the line, Acosta actually ends up winning the race. So a very, very strong start to the season there for Pedro. First for him, of course, in this one. Martin 2nd. Marc Marquez actually gets on the podium, which actually he was like nowhere in Qatar, which was really weird to see. Aleix ends up in 4th place then, and Brad Binder ends up in 5th. But a good podium then for Marc Marquez. But Acosta really starting to make a bit of a name for himself, the rookie. And of course, Bagnaia retiring that one is the big news, and that has a massive knock on the championship. Then you can see Acosta actually takes the lead, then 9 points an hour ahead of Martin in 2nd, and Bagnaia moves down to 3rd position. So he'll be hoping that he can bounce back at his home round of Mugello. And speaking of which, we're now down on the grid for the Italian Grand Prix here at Mugello, and you can see the same front row as in Jerez, so Martin, Acosta and Aleix. So once again, not on the front row for Pecco Bagnaia, which he really needs to be. And away we go then for the Italian Grand Prix. A good start there for Martin, but a better start for Acosta. So Acosta's pretty much level with him going down towards the first corner. So Acosta on the outside going into San Donato. I think Bagnaia's actually had a decent start there. He goes at the inside of Aleix, but as I was saying that, swooping round the outside goes Pedro Acosta. So Pedro, after winning that last race, 2nd in the first one, that confidence is really building for the young rookie, and he's just absolutely mugged off Jorge Martin to take the lead here. And cutting a little bit later then on lap 1 into the car entire turn, you can see he stretched out a bit of a lead, but he hits the curb and down he goes. The camera goes a little bit funny, but on board then with Martin, you can see that crash, the same crash that happened to me in career mode at this very round for a couple of different riders. And here we go, we've got a helicopter cam then going to this corner. I don't know whether AI do that sometimes, they just run on that curb, and that was just enough to obviously have Pedro off. But that was literally the only thing that happened in this race. Look at the gap that Jorge Martin has here. He absolutely dominated the race without having Pedro in his way, which isn't a massive surprise because his pace has been phenomenal compared to the rest of AI in a lot of these. Obviously, he dominated in Jerez till he made the mistake at the end. He definitely had the best pace in Qatar as well. You see 3.9 seconds ahead of Aleix in 2nd. Digi Antonio actually ended up in 3rd position. And Bagnaia, again, not a great result all the way down in 5th position. And that actually cost him another position in the championship as he moves down to 4th place. Of course, Martin takes the lead away from Acosta with the crash there. Quite a commanding one at that as well. Obviously, he was 9 points behind before, now 16 in front. So Martin really going into these final couple of rounds in the hot seat. But on to Assen now, and once again, it is Martin, the championship leader, on pole position. Aleix and Pedro Acosta alongside him as well, though, although they are actually swapped around this time. So once again, no front row for Bagnaia. But away they go then for the Dutch TT, and a great start there from Jorge Martin. He's got the whole shot going down towards turn 1. You can see, actually, I think that is Bagnaia up to 3rd place. So Bagnaia has had a decent start. Not sure what's happened to Acosta, but he hasn't had a good start at all. But Martin, the championship leader,
going to extend his lead even more if it keeps going as it is, because he's got a pretty commanding lead after just a couple of turns there. And Aleix, he's looking pretty because he's started 3rd place at the moment in the championship. But could have gone to lap 3. We've got Maverick Vinales here going through the back end of the lap. And you're probably wondering, why are we watching Maverick Vinales? That's why. He goes over the edge of the curb, down he goes. Once again, the camera goes a bit funny. On board here with, this is Bagnaia looking back at Vinales. You can see over the curb, down he goes. And that is really unfortunate for Maverick, but it gets worse for him because he rejoins the race here. You can see this is a classic AI thing to do. Rejoins right in front of poor old Augusto Fernandez, and from his point of view, nothing he could do. Vinales just rejoins the track without waiting at all. So that was one crash that happened, and we cut back to the live feed here on lap 4 now as we just finished lap 3. Bastianini's going for the attack up the inside of Jack Miller into turn 1. There's contact between the two of them. Down goes Bastianini, and here we have a replay of that incident from just in front. They can see Bastianini up the inside of Jack Miller. Contact, front goes for Bastianini, down he goes. And if you keep looking in the background, there is more contact. Again, this is going to be another shot from a different rider. I think it's from Miller, showing the contact there. You can see it's a big crash with a couple other riders involved. And that was actually enough to red flag the race, which completely changes things up. Apparently, it was actually declared a result as well, even though it was only 3 laps in. Jorge Martin then wins once again with Aleix in 2nd and Bagnaia in 3rd position. And in the championship, that causes some change. Aleix moves up to 2nd place, and with us only having 1 round left in this little championship, that means the championship is solely now between Martin and Aleix, and it's a slim chance for Aleix, 22 points. Bagnaia moves himself back up into 3rd, but 34 points down now, no chance of winning the championship. And if you guys predicted that this would be the scenario going into the last race, you're lying, because no one thought that at all. Let's be honest, we didn't think that it was going to be between Martin and Aleix. Martin makes sense, but Aleix, very surprised to see he's in contention, and the only other rider in contention going into this final round. So into this final round of the season then, can Aleix try and snatch this championship away from Martin? He's done the best he can. He's on pole position again. It's the same 3 riders on the front row, just swapped around. So I think we see who has the best qualified stats in the game. But lights out, and away we go for this final race of the season. And what a start it is there from Aleix, going down towards turn 1. He's got the whole shot for this time. So Martin not able to get the whole shot like he's done in pretty much every race so far. A couple of riders wide at the inside there. I think that's actually put Martin and Acosta up into P2 and P3. So we've got the same top 3 that we had at the beginning of the race. And cutting now onto lap 4, so quite a few laps into the race, you can see this is Jorge Martin trying to make a pass on Pedro Acosta up the inside, and there's contact there into turn 1 between the two riders. They both run massively wide. I think that's Vinales there, who we haven't seen basically since Qatar, trying to make an attack here, and he's at the inside now. He pushes Martin actually out of the way, so Martin gains a position, but also loses one. A lot of risk there from Martin, considering he does not need to finish in that position there. He only needs to score a few points to win the championship. But cutting all the way now to the last lap, you can see Aleix coming into the last corner then, just ahead of Maverick Vinales and Jorge Martin. And Aleix ends up winning the race, but it's not enough to win the championship, which means Jorge Martin is going to be our MotoGP Ducati Riders Champion. So Aleix tried everything he could there, winning that last race. Vinales finally getting back towards the front there with that 2nd place finish. Martin ended up in 3rd place. Acosta in 4th place, and actually Zarco ended up in 5th, which is really, really a surprise. A couple of riders actually didn't finish that one. Jack Miller, Rins and Bastianini, I think they must have been a couple of riders that went down at some point in the race, but don't seem to have captured that on the replay footage. And there you go, Martin then wins 13 points clear of Espargaro. Acosta actually moves himself back up into the top 3 there, ahead of Bagnaia. So Bagnaia ends up 4th, and Brad Binder ends up 5th. Vinales, that last round, really working for him, but definitely some shocks then in this championship. Marc Marquez all the way down in 10th place. Fabio Quartararo all the way down in 13th position. Just not what you'd expect to see at all. I expected Quartararo and Marquez both to be up there all the time. Bagnaia even not doing as well as he could have done. Same with Bastianini. So those riders that you typically would expect to be at the front on the factory Ducati, not quite doing it now. Of course, small sample size, but even still, I thought it was an interesting little experiment to do regardless. But there you have it, Jorge Martin, the champion of the MotoGP Ducati Cup. If you did enjoy that video, please do like the video. And if you're new to the channel, do subscribe because it does help me out. And of course, it is a win-win for both of us as you get some more MotoGP 24 game content in your subscription feed Of course, if you enjoyed the premise, let me know, because we could try and do some more. We could do some different bikes. We could try it in Moto 2. Well, Moto 2 is kind of pointless because they actually do all have the same bikes as far as the game's concerned. But we could try it in Moto 3, or we could try it in MotoGP again. Different set of tracks. You know, it could be completely different outcome, different bike potentially as well. We could put everyone in the Yamaha and see how that works, and that might play in Quattararo's advantage or something like that. Or we could put everyone on the GP23. Just let me know if you enjoy it and you want to see something similar. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you'll stay safe, and I shall see you in the next one.